It's not 6 o'clock.
Call to order the Select Board meeting of December 16th. We'll go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21. The board will discuss an open meeting law complaint under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21. One, to address an open meeting law complaint received December 10th, 2024, filed by Patrick Higgins against the members of the Dartmouth Select Board. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mickelson. Is there a second?
Mrs. Brooks.
Seconded by Mrs. Brooks. Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks? And the chair votes in favor. We'll be returning to open session at
Mr. O'Neill?
6:30.
Mr. O'Neill?
Mr. O'Neill, he's not here yet.
Sorry, okay.
Call to order the Select Board meeting of December 16th. Please rise for a salute to the flag, and please remain standing thereafter. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing as we offer a moment of silence for our service personnel, both here and abroad, both past and present. Okay, please be seated. Okay, this meeting is being recorded and available live right now and available at DCTV on their YouTube channel for later watch if you're interested. We do have one member who is at home remote, so all votes tonight will be done by roll call vote. The warrant has been signed. We have no appointments. First item of business, we have a change of manager application for Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar. New manager is Lisa Ann Dupree. Come on up, Lisa. So you're the one that's going to be responsible.
The one.
The big boss.
All right, so just give a little bit of how long you've worked for them and, you know.
I've been working for Applebee's since I was 17 years old, since 1997. Been there for a long time.
No, you didn't have to tell us how old you are.
So I'm 43. 43. So I worked at the one in the Applebee's in Seekonk for a long time. I got promoted, and now I'm the general manager of the Applebee's in North Dartmouth.
Great, okay. All right, that sounds good to me. So we have a change in the neighborhood. So do I have a motion?
Motion.
Approve.
Oh, second.
Made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by Mrs. Brooks. On the motion, any questions? Roll call vote. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
Chair votes in favor. All right, congratulations. Good luck.
All right,
All
thank
right.
you so much.
Next item in the agenda, we have actually probably two of them, so we can probably knock them out but individually, but the presentation can be done by one person. The application for a pledge of collateral sale off 246 Elm Street and pledge of collateral Joe's Original at 61 State Road. I'm assuming Mr. Silverstein will be speaking on behalf of both.
Good evening, and thank you. Yes, the bank likes to secure their loans with the liquor license pledge, which I think you've seen before, and it's fairly typical.
So by pledging this, we're looking at probably some wonderful new things happening down in the sale loft in Joe's Original.
It's just a refinance of the loan with
Okay.
with Coastal One.
All right. All right, so the first item is the first one is the
Sale off.
sale off 246 Elm Street. What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Mickelson. Is there a second?
Mrs. Brooks.
Mrs. Brooks, on the motion, any questions? Roll call vote. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson? Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, next is the Joe's Original, 61 State Road, pledge of collateral. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by Mrs. Brooks. This is going to be all the time. On the motion, any questions? Roll call vote. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Chair votes in favor. All right, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Joy.
Thank you.
Steve.
Take care of that baby.
All right. Next item on the agenda, we have the application for a motor vehicle Class 2 license, 590 Dartmouth Street for Bliss Corner Auto Sales. Anybody here for that? No-show salesman, like that, okay. All right, well, I mean, this basically, this is a brand-new license, correct? Yes. So it's a new business. All right, what's the board's pleasure?
I don't know, do we need someone here to allow
Yeah,
this
he
to
should be here.
move forward?
Yeah, you should be here, new license,
That wouldn't start till 2025 now.
right?
We can,
The board wants to make a motion to
Is there
table and then bring it on to the
a
next.
chance maybe they're late and we can wait? They may show up,
And
is
we'll
that
hold off
possible?
on it for the time being.
All right,
You want a new license, you should show
Right.
up. All right, next item on the agenda, we have the appointment of special police officers. Why do they want to do this? They retired.
They just retired, yeah.
God. Paul Aruda and Kyle Costa.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm not going to go against it because we need the assistance, especially filling those details, so I'm all for it. So yeah, I'm seeking the appointment of Kyle Costa, who retired from the department on April 11th as a detective. He was also our public information officer and served with us for over 20 years full-time capacity and 6 years as an intermittent. Additionally, looking to appoint Paul Aruda, who retired as our firearms licensing officer on November 15th after almost 30 years of full-time service. 7.5 of those as the school resource officer. He was well known for that position. And additionally, 1.5 years as an intermittent officer. So like I said earlier, these officers would be able to assist us in filling those third-party details. And just looking for your approval to get them appointed to that position.
Okay. All right, board's pleasure.
Motion to appoint Paul Aruda and Kyle Costa to special police officers.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, sounds like Chris O'Neill.
Motion made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by Mr. O'Neill. Under the wire. Way to go, Chris. All right. Any questions? Roll call vote. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks? Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
And Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. You got him, chief.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good holiday.
Speaking of retirements. We have a old guy retiring. Old Salt.
Where is he?
I don't know, saltwater. Stephen Sullivan, Superintendent of Public Works Water Division, is retiring at the end of this year after 39 years of service to the town of Dartmouth. I've known Steve probably for those 39 years. If there was a person in town that would personify what's best for the town, I think you would be hard-pressed to find anybody other than Steve Sullivan. Steve gave his heart and his soul to the town, this position. Many times he's been called out to water main breaks at midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. That's part and parcel of the duty, but he was there. And at times, he also jumped in the ditch to also lend a hand. So it is with extreme bittersweet pleasure to offer official citations, so that be it known that the Dartmouth Select Board hereby extends its congratulations to Steve Sullivan in recognition of your unceasing commitment to ensuring the safety and integrity of the town's water system and providing high-quality drinking water to our residential and business customers for 39 years. And be it further known that the Dartmouth Select Board extends its heartfelt gratitude and best wishes in retirement. Steve, to be honest with you, after 39 years, this piece of paper in the frame cannot do justice for what I personally want to thank you for. We've seen you grow. We've also seen you shrink. And I personally want to thank you for your service. And because you're not going to get away from not saying anything, so, but in the meantime, I do want to
I want to thank you guys very much. This has been a great time. I started as a laborer here, worked my way through the ranks. Started with 3 wells and 4 tanks and a pumping station. Now we're up to 14 wells, 3 treatment plants, 5 tanks, and as you guys know, we fought through a lot of things: trihalomethanes, salicylic acids. It was because they changed the rules as we went. So every time we turned around, there was a rule that was on the edge. We got caught. So, but the group I have has done a great job supporting me. Trisha's here. She's my right arm in my office. I was 15 years without an assistant, and she was right there every day for me, so well appreciated.
Thank you, Steve. Come on up.
Everyone puts one hand on it.
Hello. I get my hand in there.
There we go. Perfect.
Steve,
Thank you, Steve.
congratulations.
Don't drive everybody crazy in your retirement, okay? But keep your number handy. Just in case. Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. All right. Next item on the agenda is the 2024 Dartmouth Senior Center Master Plan presentation. Mr. Carrero.
Mr. Chairman, tonight you have a presentation by the group Brewster Thornton Architects. Amy can do a little briefing on the master plan report before they do their presentation.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening. So the Dartmouth Council on Aging, we're planning for the future. This master plan that we partnered with Brewster Thornton discusses our current strengths and future opportunities, both in what we can do at the center and how the Council on Aging itself can meet those needs. So I will be here to answer any questions you have after the presentation, but I am going to let Anjali and Nate take over from here.
Thank you, Amy. I've got a brief presentation, and then we'll be available for questions. Let's make sure this works. Don't see it.
Trying to get free water
Yeah,
before he leaves.
I wouldn't drink that. 39 years, almost as long as I've been in retail. It's 51. That's quite a picture right there.
Who's here?
They're coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah. He should have put his name up.
Wasn't you?
No, he's not.
Yeah, except
His mother was my wife had dancing club. She used to be a dancing instructor for girls. She went to her dance schools.
his mother? Wow.
Yep, his mother.
So old.
Yes.
It's pathetic.
Really? Imagine that.
Sorry, working on it. Wait, one more minute.
All right.
No pressure, Pete.
Downloading an app.
She's not aging well at all. No, seriously. Doesn't look good. She looked much more vibrant.
done, Pete.
Phew.
Technology.
Great.
Phew.
All right, thank you for having me here. I'm Nate Ginsberg from Brewster Thornton Group. We've been working with the Council on Aging to evaluate their building and their needs so that we can help them plan for the future. We were hired to evaluate the physical conditions and help to determine needs for the future of a growing senior center. It's very well used with a very passionate community. What we saw when we were there were people that were really excited about the space, and we saw a lot of classes going on. We saw a lot of activities all happening at the same time. Located at 628 Dartmouth Street, the Senior Center provides access to wellness programs, services, support programs, as well as community engagement for an active and vibrant community. This study looked to determine the needs and the deficiencies. We conducted a series of design workshops and presentations. We collected feedback from staff and stakeholders. These meetings, along with surveys that were sent out to the community, helped us to determine the master plan. The master plan recommends 3 stages of kind of immediate need, near-term, and then long-term potential needs, potential possibilities. Overall, the building site is adequate for the needs of the center. It's a large site with several town entities utilizing the same site. The parking lot layout we did find was confusing to some, as well as the flow becoming slightly difficult with some of the navigation of the parking lot. The parking lot was adequate for the most part, except for when the thrift store was in operation, and then it was noted to need some additional spaces. We did note that the outdoor program spaces didn't really connect well to the parking lot, which accommodates 109 spaces, only 6 of which were designated as ADA spaces. There were several buildings on the site, including town DPW and emergency operations. We did find that the parking lot served the community well during COVID. Really found that the need for outdoor socializing spaces was very helpful. Inside the building, we conducted an extensive walkthrough with staff from the facility and observed programs in action and the building as it was used. We did not do any destructive testing, but only observable items were used for identification of needs and deficiencies. So the existing one-story building was built in 1980. It was built around a 2-story schoolhouse. The newer construction is wood frame, and the total usable square footage is 12,324 square feet. It is well maintained and in reasonably good condition. The most noticeable need as we walked around the building was a lack of clear circulation. So as many programs are happening, some need different multi-purpose rooms. You can see from the plan there are spaces in the back. Some circulation requires you to go through one program space to get to another program space. There is a level change to get to spaces in the back, so there are 2 ramps within the building. That also adds to some of the confusion. The building has a large multi-purpose room directly accessible from the front entrance. That was well used and noted to be in need of some finish upgrades, as well as the kitchen, which was also noted to really be at the end of its useful life. The lobby at the entry is large, but it can get loud with a lot of different programs happening at the same time. The administrative offices, which are in blue at the bottom of the screen, are right off of the main circulation space, so there's no privacy in direct access. There's no separation from the public. We did note a considerable amount of storage needs and various conditions of spaces. Some had been recently renovated, some were in need of renovations. We did send out a survey to the community in addition to multiple in-person design workshops. The first slide really just shows that a lot of the people responding to the survey were Dartmouth residents. Mostly were over 65, and most of them used the center once a week. It should come as no surprise that the commercial kitchen was ranked highest in order of priorities in our survey. Improvements to technology, activity spaces that are outside. It was also important to note that welcoming atmosphere was one of the top priorities. They wanted us to maintain that. People were very clear that the building did have a welcoming atmosphere, but they wanted to make sure that, that we maintain that. Also, priorities were easy access to services, space for entertainment and community events, and the need for more space. So those same themes kept coming up throughout our surveys and throughout our workshops. Access to technology, new kitchen, spaces for socialization, spaces outdoor for program, better parking, better layout. So as I said before, our study shows 3 recommendations. One is immediate, which is the main multipurpose room and commercial kitchen should be upgraded. The second, a little more complicated in scope, suggests the insertion of a new cafe where there is currently a courtyard. So it's in addition to the building, which is really right in the center of the space. The concept of a cafe, social spaces came up multiple times during our master planning process, and this actually does double duty. With the center of the building being opened up, it provides views throughout the space, provides direct access for circulation, and really improves circulation around the building. So improvements to the entry, the offices, the cafe, improved circulation, relocation of the food pantry were all proposed for the second phase. This is a concept of what that central cafe could look like in the courtyard. And then the final recommendation, more of a long-term, is an addition. This addition would provide better connection to the outdoor spaces, locations where outdoor activities happen. It would involve some site reconfiguration, could provide a second access to the building, outdoor storage, access to restrooms from the outside, and provide another multi-purpose space where popular programs could be conducted. It should be noted that I'm presenting this as a sequence of projects. They could happen all at the same time. They could happen one after the other. They could be really independently pursued. Finally, we looked at the site and really straightening some of the circulation spaces through the parking lot, recommending taking down pieces of the existing garage to provide better access to the outdoor space, connection from the new addition to outdoor gardens and event spaces, the addition of more accessible parking spots, easier access to outdoor storage, and the improvement of hardscape for outdoor recreation. And then I will pause at this point for any questions.
Okay, board members? Mrs. Brooks?
I attended several of the meetings that we had as we progressed through this plan and have been at the building and gone through my own walkthrough. So I can certainly see your conceptual drawings and can see the path of these 3 projects and the benefits they would have on the Council on Aging space. So no question, just a statement.
Okay. Tattelbaum, have anything?
I took a walk through it a number of times myself, and I think it's the most important part is it's an exciting project that is extremely needed. Question I have regarding the kitchen. I know for years it's been a #1 priority because it basically doesn't exist anymore. And as a point of clarification, you call it a commercial kitchen, but it's not for a giant commercial. It's what's available in size and its purpose and what you foresee it in the short term to be used for. Could you clarify that?
So, yeah, not commercial production, but commercial kitchen in the sense that it serves the public. Right now, it has very limited capacity because there is no walk-in refrigerator. They don't have a large freezer. Those two things are really limiting. The equipment that are in the space also is really at the end of its life, and there is a desire to do cooking classes, use it as a teaching kitchen. Whether it serves 50 people or 100 people or 150 people will absolutely make a big difference on the amount of space that is required. The concept of the cafe is interesting in that the kitchen could also be used to supply the food for the cafe. But currently it really only has warming capacity where food needs to be brought in that is prepared somewhere else. So food preparation will require different equipment and certainly different space within the kitchen itself. The kitchen really does need to be upgraded one way or the other, even if it continues to be a warming kitchen, even if it's not a full-blown teaching kitchen or a kitchen that has the ability to cook for the public.
But because of space limitations, et cetera, in the general consensus is they're not going to be used to produce the large amount of meals that are delivered on a regular basis. Is that the plan?
I think that those needs really need to be identified. There is the ability to increase the size of the kitchen. Currently, there's an office that we feel can be relocated to provide space for a walk-in refrigerator. The wall to the adjacent bathrooms can be moved, and those bathrooms can be changed in shape so we can provide space for a freezer. I do think it would have the ability to serve the capacity to serve meals in the large multi-purpose space adjacent to it. But that would really need further design work from a specialty kitchen consultant.
And to be determined by what the groups determines that they need.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they're open to be subject to some interpretation.
That's correct. And we do think, yes, it could certainly be used to prepare meals for the multi-purpose room for, say 50 people in a seating. Absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Mickelson?
Thank you.
So just to clarify, the equipment, I'm sure it's commercial grade equipment you're talking
That's correct,
about.
yes.
Right. The plan is just wonderful. I can't wait to go to my new home.
Absolutely.
Mr. O'Neill, do you have any?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the only question I had is, I'm wondering if Maria and the management of the COA are in agreement with what has been presented, if it really did encompass all of the hopes and wants that the staff have for the building. And, because sometimes the studies and the plans can take on a life of their own, and I'm just curious to see what their reaction is to the data that came back, or the report that came back.
Hi, thank you, Chris, for your question. I don't think that the surveys really produced anything that we didn't already know. It was definitely brought to us in a different light, so it made us stop and think about what we may do in the future. But no, I don't think there were any surprises at all.
Okay. And the priorities, you think the priorities were laid out properly?
I do. I think one of the most difficult parts for us was that we have a great center to begin with, and we're all really proud of it. We make what we have work, but we do want to offer the best possible center that we can to the community. So it was great to get some outside input. I do think the kitchen is at its end of life. We have not been able to produce more than, to use it more as a warming kitchen, I'd say for at least the last 2 years. And we've put off a few of the projects, like the grease trap needs to be replaced. It's below ground. So we've been putting that off, thinking it's going to be a much bigger project. But so yes, I do agree with this phase approach.
Great, thank you.
And Maria Connor is also here from the Friends of the Elderly, so she's going to answer that as well.
Great.
Sorry, I'm really short. They don't make these things for short people.
He used to have a stool.
Friends of the Elderly, we've been the biggest stakeholders throughout the years at that center. This project, we like a lot of stuff on it. We're very impressed and we like it a lot. Some we like it and some we're not so much in love with. I find certain little things to be an easier fix than with this project puts it forward. And one of the things was the parking lot. Behind the shop, there's 24 parking spaces. Those spaces can be used a lot better than what they are used now. All we have to do is move the entrance from the thrift shop. And those 24 spots can be used for the people that shops there. So these are the little things that can be fixed, but I do like a lot of stuff you came up with. Hopefully this is not in concrete, a lot of the different phases, and I'm sure we'll be having a lot of meetings before anything gets done. Thank you.
Having been involved with several projects over the vast number of years, we all know that, what is proposed in the plan, generally 60-75% of it actually shows up in actual building. So this is an idea, this is a plan, this gives us at least a direction in which to go. Whether or not it ends up looking exactly like that, I'm probably going to say no. But it gives us where we want to go and how we want to achieve it. And I think that's the most important thing. The other important thing is, and which I'm sure we'll be getting into probably within the next couple of minutes, is the cost. So I have some ideas on that, but I do want to at least stress to the point that, this is a plan. It's basically showing us where we want to go, how we get there, and what we do, whether we have a cafe or we don't have a cafe, if we have, a relocation of the parking lot, if, when you're dealing with, well, I can say it because I'm of age now, so when you're dealing with people who drive over the age of 65, you have to be very careful about pedestrian traffic and motor vehicle traffic. They don't combine. They don't work well together. So we want to make sure that the people that are walking from the parking lot into the building actually make it into the building. So, and we have to be right. And I'm thinking of you too, Stan.
Yeah,
So,
right. Well, it's my new home. I'll be there a lot.
All right. So with that, we know that this is a plan. We know this is an idea and it's a concept, and it's something to give us to look forward to in the future. So now I believe we're coming to the nuts and bolts.
So I think your point is very well said. This is a plan. These are general categories of kind of the steps that we need to develop. So we're starting with simple things like the kitchen that we know needs to be replaced and finish upgrades. We're moving on to things that are a little more difficult, like structural improvements to circulation patterns and location, things that have walls that are going to need to be moved and are going to be more costly. And then we're sort of going on to a major project of an addition parking lot renovation. Each of those things has goals and very specific things that the stakeholders and staff wanted to make sure got into those projects. Those need to be designed. And as you said, those sort of begin to take on a life of their own as people bring new ideas. As you start to develop some of these things, they don't always look like the initial thoughts. Looking at the site and the annex building, we talked about several things that did not make it into the final report. We looked at maybe doing a facelift to the building, and people said, no, that's not where we want to go. We want to make sure the inside and the interior spaces are done properly. We looked at moving some things to the annex building, and people thought, you know what, that's just a little too far away. We looked at relocating the thrift shop, but people in the end eventually thought that it was in the right spot. So each of those things we looked at that didn't make it in also tells a story in itself. I think people want to spend the money where it makes sense and where it gets them really some programmatic benefits. We did provide costs along with the report. I don't know how productive it'll be to really talk about costs of each of those projects, because as you said, they really can evolve or change. But I think the general gist is that we were about 1.2 million with the kitchen and the renovation of the multi-purpose room. We were about $1 million with the cafe in the center, but then again, depending on how much of the building the renovations are decided to take over, that number could change. And then we were about 2.2 million for exterior parking lot and building addition.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Tattlebaum.
I'm actually involved in 2 non-town projects right now that are faced with, I think, the situation we have here is that the longer you wait to do, the more not only complex it is, but of course nowadays it's more expensive because inflation it hits the construction business more than probably any industry other than food. And then you have another decision to make as to you do this and how does it affect that, and what is the sequence going to be in the phase it. And of course, you'd love to just do it all, but I think that there's some serious decisions to be made as to not only, of course, how we finance it, but more importantly, what is the proper phase and sequence, and then make the final design, which encompasses some of these issues that are still hanging that we need to make a decision on.
Your point is a very good one. The cost estimator had projected a 30% cost increase over the next 5 years and a 50% cost increase over the next 10 years.
Beautiful.
But who knows what's going to happen over the next 10 years.
I'm hearing 4 to 5% per year is an inflation cost effect. It's a good number. If you're lucky, it comes out, but it's luck.
Yeah, 6% is what we've always said in the past. But over 3 years, that's more like 25%. So it's exponential, not just linear.
Ask at this point, what's your recommendation as to where we go from here?
It really depends on financing. So absolutely, I do think that a kitchen multi-purpose room renovation can happen very much in isolation. One of the advantages of the phased approach is that you're not taking the building down, so that we could, if we do the multi-purpose room and kitchen project, we could do the cafe in the center of the building in a much more controlled way as a phase 2, because now you have a multi-purpose room that is open, recently renovated. You can access the back of the building through that multi-purpose room, and there's a circulation path. So the 3-phased approach does help in each of these projects not having a big impact on the day-to-day operations of the senior center. One other point I think to make is that when we talked about additions, There were some people that said, we want an addition because that class that I really like is full, and maybe there should be two options that we can have for that class. Some other people said, hey, if we're going to do an addition, we don't want to spend the money just making this building bigger. Maybe we need another building on the other side of town. So there were a few conversations there as well, and each of those has an impact on the operations of the center as you do that construction.
What's that?
Yeah, thank you.
Nicholson?
No, I'm all set.
Mrs. Brooks?
What's that?
Mr. O'Neill?
I'm all set, Sean, thank you.
Well, as far as the cost goes, and just adding up the entire package, you're talking about $5.3 million for the entire thing. I remember when we started talking about the library project, the town started socking away money in the stabilization fund to help pay for the cost of the library. And to me, this sounds like something we can do. Whether it's, depending upon what's available in free cash, depending upon what's out there, we can create a stabilization fund for the senior center, for senior center improvements, or however you want to call it. I think it's something that can be done. It has to be done with town meeting approval, and number one, to set up the fund, and then after that, it'll be, put in, $250,000 or $500,000, if I'm not mistaken, and I can't quite remember,
Mr. Chairman, one point of clarification, the numbers that I just read were construction costs only.
Right.
They did not include soft costs, furniture.
Well, I included the
moving,
soft costs and
those
everything.
things.
into it.
Okay, great, perfect.
I sat here,
Thanks.
I was, yeah, I had to do it twice because I erased it once.
So, Sean, what I will remember is we would put away $1 million at one meeting and
Right.
$750,000 at another meeting.
Right.
And I do think it makes sense to look ahead at the June town meeting to create that stabilization fund.
Yes.
But I want to make sure this is on the long-term
Yes.
capital plan
It is, yeah.
for the improvements at the, because that's how we're going to show that it's not pie in the sky.
Right.
And this is doable.
But the bigger thing is, especially, with the long term, some of the long-term projects, we're talking, 30, 40, $50 million. This isn't in that realm. This is within the realm that, we can do a little bit of stabilization monies here and there and hit our goal without being a burden on any kind of a bond or any kind of borrowing. Maybe there will be some borrowing involved, but, you're not borrowing 5, you're borrowing 2, and, we have a great bonding rate, so we're going to get, lower interest. We're going to get more people that are going to be interested in letting us borrow the money, so I think this is something, my grandmother always used to sock away money in a cookie jar. That's what this is. We're socking away money in for our cookie jar, and I think this is something that, we can do, we should start. We know this project isn't ready to hit it's not shovel ready. This is still a concept. So we can start this in June to start the ball rolling, so that when it does become shovel ready, we have somebody available.
John, can I ask a question about?
Before Mr. Tattlebaum, Mr. O'Neill.
I was under the impression that there were certain funds allocated for the kitchen project. Am I wrong there? Oh, I thought there were funds already available.
Hang on.
I didn't know.
Get your answer.
Right, thank you, Chris. We do have approximately $250,000 set aside between the money that we have requested through CIP in the past and a very generous donation from the Dartmouth Friends of the Elderly. So we would be ready we are hoping to really hit the ground running as soon as possible as far as the kitchen space goes. So whether we have to separate the kitchen from the kitchen and the big room, but I do think that, the kitchen, we have money set aside. We can also look for grants to assist with any town funds as well.
I would also add that, the beauty of this project is that it does phase well, and there is a gigantic immediate need for the kitchen project and for that main room. And it's just over $1 million plus or minus, with some funds already there. And I also think there may be some community people might want to donate something to that project, because it's going to serve people who are delighted to have it there. So I personally would like to see us zero in, especially at June town meeting, for the first phase, and then move in from there, maybe in fall town meeting, whatever. But I think the town deserves action on that first phase, including the big room, as soon as we can do it. But there's a lot of discussion we need to have about it. But the beauty is it's a fantastic project, minus a few adjustments that we can have. That plan's going to work on the first phase for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Carrero.
On the point of the long-term capital stabilization fund that we just implemented in the last town meeting, the point of that fund, as you mentioned, is also to combine that with some borrowing. I know in the short-term capital, we've talked about projects that don't get completed because the town may have the reluctancy to borrow. We have the capacity to borrow with the bond rating, and just the EQV of the town is enough that we can borrow these funds. Having said that, I think the point of that fund is to continue to donate to that fund as much as we can, as much as we feasibly can, to keep projects like this on the radar. And when we talk about that in long term, eventually we'll have to start drawing down that fund. But it's I think to be in combination with long-term borrowing to complement that, and projects like this, I think, are key.
Well, we know that the kitchen has been talked about for the last 3 years, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Why it never got off the page, well, that's neither here nor there, but we're here to address it now. So,
Well, I think it's also clear that it was agreed reluctantly that we should wait on the kitchen to be sure that this plan was going to work together, and that's exactly what's happened. And there'll be some refinements and some decisions made, but it's all going to work together. There'll be no wasted time, dollars, or money to get that project done.
all right, so so now it's going to be, the question is, what's the next step? Anybody have an answer for that?
So,
What's the next step?
yeah, so I'll take it.
So,
Mr. Vitale, welcome back.
Thank you, Sean.
It's nice to see you bright and shiny, not overly taxed and sleepy.
Hear that too. So in terms of next steps this evening, what we'd recommend is that the board endorse the master plan that's been prepared by Brewster Thornton. With that, we would be working with the leadership over at COA immediately to develop a scope of work for the kitchen, taking into consideration all the discussions that have been had as part of the master plan process. And, with the idea that we are looking at a commercial kitchen, what does that mean exactly? Going in, looking at what's there, looking, behind the walls, getting better cost estimates, as well as having additional conversations on the design. I think that will put us in a very good position as we come up to our next town meeting, or next couple of town meetings, if we are going to be funding this in phases, where we'll have some firm numbers to back up what it is that we're requesting for the kitchen. So that'd be my recommendation for this evening.
All right. Members?
We need to vote on that?
Yeah.
So then I
let's
will,
make a motion.
Endorse.
I would make that motion that we endorse the master plan presented tonight.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Tattlebaum, seconded by Mr. Mickelson. On the motion, any questions? Roll call vote. Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks.
yes.
Mr. Tattlebaum.
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson.
Yes.
The chair votes in favor. All right, you guys got the endorsement, and get to work.
Thank you very much.
Long time coming.
I want my first breakfast soon.
Huh? You cooking scrambled eggs over there?
That's what I'll be doing.
Bad
I'll
bagels.
have to do that.
Now the real work
Bad
starts.
bagels.
As soon as I get where I need to go here, we'll continue.
So maybe we can go back to that motor vehicle,
Yeah, is,
Today?
yeah, I know that's next, but I just want
Bliss
to find
Corner
out
Auto
if...
Sales.
Is anybody here from Bliss Corner Auto Sales?
Thought these people were, no? Guess not. I thought it might have been them.
All right, so next item on the agenda, we have the Buzzards Bay Coalition Connect to Protect Program Agreement. Mr. Carrero.
So, Mr. Chairman, about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, we met with Dan from Buzzards Bay Coalition to introduce the Connect to Protect program. We initiated, the board then voted $100,000 of the federal revenue replacement money to be allocated to supplement that program. I've been in contact with Corinne, who's the attorney for Buzzards Bay Coalition. And what we did was we engaged with our town council to review the initial proposal that was sent over from the commission. Attorney Cruz looked at it. There were some tweaks to that, and we have what is probably going to end up being more of a grant agreement in the sense where the town still will be in partnership with the coalition, but it will be more of where we are not going to be implementing the program. The coalition will be. So we have that agreement that will be proposed to the board at the next their meeting. I just wanted to update the board because I know it's been some time that we've talked about this.
Because it is a change from the initial, from
Yes.
what was proposed by Buzzards Bay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so it better protects the town, it makes the program run a lot better. And we're supplying the matching funds for whatever needs to be done to make that connect.
Yeah,
correct?
and we'll work in coordination with the coalition to make sure that the most vulnerable are the ones that are.
Right, okay. All right, sounds good. So we'll look forward to that for our next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, all right, on the Bliss Corner, we're gonna have to hold that off until the next meeting. So please inform them that they can't sell a car until they come here. All right.
In 2025.
Yeah, the next time, yes.
It's a new operation. There's cars out
It's a new operation. There's already cars there?
I think it's the one at the corner of Bliss Corner, Heidi.
Yeah,
There were
I
cars
mean,
on the lot.
it's a new, probably a new owner
Oh, yeah,
at a same location.
right.
It is,
But they're
yeah.
definitely,
It is.
there's
Right,
inventory
but
out
they
there.
should have,
Yeah,
I mean,
For sure.
Yeah, but they were on this.
I mean, there isn't much that we, agree to over here, but at least, something
Even
like
one-
this.
well,
All right, so we have license renewals. First one is a motor vehicle license, Class 1, which is the Battleship Harley-Davidson, Colonial Honda, Colonial South Chevrolet, Colonial South Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Dartmouth Nissan, and Kia of Dartmouth.
to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Mickelson. Is there a second?
Mrs. Brooks.
Mrs. Brooks, on the motion, any questions? Roll
Question.
call. Yes.
More of a statement. I'd like to just make sure that we remind the dealerships that come before us with the license renewals that to be sure not to encroach upon the walkways and in the buffers on town property or highways, streets. In the past, we've had some vehicles displayed, I think that were within the right-of-ways. So just as a reminder to everyone that has these licenses coming up, I think it's important to make sure that you know exactly where your boundary lines are and you stay within the boundary.
Well,
Thank you.
we used to do inspections of Class 1s, Class 2s, maybe not so much Class 3s. Class 3s, I believe, are other, I think it's Board of Health, if I'm not mistaken. But rest assured, it's going to be renewed. We are going to work with either building or, if possible, a community police officer, at least to check these before renewals. Because my question, because I have a question on one of them, on the next one, on the Class 2, so. On the Class 1, roll call vote, Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. Motor Vehicle Class 2, we have Bliss Express, Brum's Ultimate Repair. This one I have a question on. By right of Dartmouth, there's absolutely nobody there.
They're not in business.
They're not in business, so why are we renewing something that's no longer in business?
Who's not in business?
By right.
I writer.
Oh, but
Closed up.
It's completely empty.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing there.
Signs are
It's in
down.
everything.
All their signs are
All
down, the
gone.
building's empty.
So I'm gonna,
We can,
we'll take that one off for clarification, find out what's going on. Dartmouth Collision, Dartmouth Gas and Service Used Car Sales, Dartmouth Motors Auto Sales, Inc., Dartmouth Street Auto Sales, FM Auto Sales. FM Auto Sales is over on Hathaway Road, and they have, if I'm not mistaken,
company.
2 spaces.
Yeah, the rug company.
It's the rug company. I don't,
Oh, really?
I don't remember, yeah.
Do it in the back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So they're still there.
Yep.
Ideal Motors, Inc., Joe's Used Cycles, and this is the case that I want to make sure that places are inspected and taken a look at, because I'm getting complaints from people on Ellswick Street about Joe's Used Cycles and their storage. Joey's Auto Sales, Modern Auto Body, Mike's Auto 2, Inc., Spike's Speed Shop. Where is that, Spike's Speed Shop?
The new fellow who opened up?
Yeah, Tom's Auto Sales and Vashon Motor Company. Board's pleasure.
So, a motion to approve, other than the buy writer and your question about that one of the auto sales.
Well, no, it was just FM Auto
Joe's.
Sales. It's just I don't see any activity there when I drive by, but then again, they only have 2 spots.
Correct.
So, you know,
Yeah, well, in the back, you can't see
yeah,
it.
right. So
It's
I'm
always
not
been
worried
that way.
about that.
It's always been
Yeah.
that way. Motion to approve.
Is that what it is?
This is at 640 State Road.
The new fellow who just opened up designs the cars?
All right, so it's all those with the exception of the buy right at Dartmouth. So motion made by Mr. Mickelson? Is there a second?
Mrs. Brooks.
Mrs. Brooks, on the motion, any questions? Roll call vote, Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Tattelbaum?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Chair votes in favor. Okay, motor vehicle license, Class 3, Acme Auto Salvage, Brum's Ultimate Repair.
Do you know why Brum's is listed twice, Class 2 and 3?
You are allowed to carry both, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Gabriel's Auto Parts, Sylvia's Auto Parts.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Mickelson, is there a second?
Second.
Brooks, on the motion, any questions? All those in favor, roll call vote, Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Tattelbaum,
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson.
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, entertainment license, Killer Bees, 718 Dartmouth Street, Unit 720, and Tilt,
Motion to approve.
200 Dartmouth Mall. Motion made by Mr. Mickelson, second
Mrs. Brooks.
by Mrs. Brooks. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye. Roll call vote, sorry. Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson, Mr. Tattelbaum, chair votes in favor. All right, inn holder's license. We vote on the following conditions of the inn holder's license, that the license must comply with the inn and inn holder regulations of the Board of Health, and that the licensee must cooperate in the enforcement of these regulations by the Board of Health and its agents, including through making all guest books and guest rooms available to them for inspection and review. Baymont Inn and Best Western Dartmouth.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Mickelson. Is there a second? Mrs. Brooks, on the motion, any questions? Roll call vote. Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks.
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson. And Mr. Tattelbaum. And the chair votes in favor. All right. Town administrator appointment, we're going to hold that off until the last one. So do we have an interim town administrator update?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The Select Board Office has received and processed over 50 fuel assistance applications. A reminder that the residents, that there's no deadline for the application, but they can be submitted on the town's website or by calling Select Board Office at 508-910-1813. Matthew Burlett, the town's veterans agent, has received his certified by the state of Massachusetts. The VA administration has recently tasked the state of Massachusetts with certifying all full-time agents, authorizing them to submit claims on behalf of the veterans and their communities. Congratulations to Matt for that. And as part of the town's community electricity aggregation program, the town is holding a 30-day public review period for its revised aggregation plan, which the town's officially, which is their supply program. The Mass DEP Public Utilities issued new rules for aggregation plans in July of 2024, which expand local authority for cities and towns concerning the operation of their programs, increase public transparency. The revised plan won't affect current electricity rates or options of pricing, which are fixed until November of 2025. Existing participants will not need to take any action or to continue receiving the current pricing. Residents can go online at www.masscea.com/Dartmouth, and the public review period is open until January 13th, 2025. And finally, the Dartmouth Police Department's Fill the Bus program was a complete success, filling 2 buses full of toys, which will be distributed to the community and to children from 10 years old or younger. Hosted by students from the Dartmouth High School, it featured live performances by various singers and magicians. The event also raised close to $3,000.
Wow. Wonderful job.
Good job all the way around, that's for sure. All right, old business, anything on the Bliss Corner?
No new business.
In the Lake Nokichoke?
No new business.
Municipal broadband?
No new business.
Mass DEP? No new business. All right. We have the minutes of November 18th, 2024. Any questions on the minutes?
I will say, having reviewed them and seen no discrepancies, I make a motion to accept those minutes.
Second.
Motion to approve the minutes made by Mrs. Brooks, seconded by Mr. Mickelson. On the motion, any questions? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, select board updates. We have any updates from anybody on our board?
I have one, and this is for all senior citizens that are invited to a Christmas Day dinner sponsored by the Jewish community of Greater New Bedford. It's being held on Christmas Day, December 25th, at the Holy Name of the Sacred Heart of Jesus Parish Hall at 121 Mount Pleasant Street, New Bedford. The doors open at 10:30 in the morning. The dinner is served at noon, and they do ask you to call to make reservations. The number is 508-999-4717. And the deadline to make your reservation is 12/22.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Tattlebaum?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Information, license renewal update? Anything?
The 2 forms that we requested in the earlier packet, just for discussion purposes, if the board has any.
We have a lot of non-renewals.
Alcohol licenses are complete. I think there were a couple of the common vic where they have set up, they have items where they serve food indoors. And I believe Melanie said there were a couple that were existing.
And we have this auto sales. So there's a handful.
So like, for instance, the auto sales, it'll have to be addressed in January now.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it says
The
not
meeting
renewed
now,
as of
yeah.
12/13.
The food permits could happen between now and the end of the year,
Yes.
by some chance.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
common vics.
Yeah. Common,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
All right. All right, so now that gets us to where we need to go, which is,
I want to say that we have some folks in the audience, and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm kind of confused.
Yeah.
okay. What do you got?
Okay,
We received this in the mail
okay.
for 11.
For, yep,
That's the same thing.
yep.
We received something in the mail that they were supposed to go meeting last week. We came last week and nobody was here.
Okay, they're holding their meeting by Zoom. That's why they've given you the link.
It's on the computer.
It's on the computer.
Yeah.
So they're not here. They're not here.
Is that the Crossroads?
No, that's.
No, planning board.
Okay,
On the Fox Corner Road.
okay.
For what?
Yeah, this is being held,
What was that
held
for?
via Zoom. So you have, it's a link on the computer.
Yeah, so
That's a problem without
Was
a,
that as of today?
What,
supposed to be today at
tonight.
7 o'clock.
That's why they
what did it
came.
concern?
The property, Rose Motors property. that,
Yes,
looks like it's-
yep.
Yep.
If you want to meet me in the room over there,
You know, I think it's time, I think it's time that all meetings are started held in person so that we avoid a situation like this.
Right, especially a hearing like this.
I know it's not on the agenda.
We do have a
and
disclaimer.
I know we need to discuss it, but,
Excuse me, are we going to be able to help these people?
yeah, Gary's gonna take care of it.
Okay.
I think we need a sense of the, I think we need a sense of the meeting vote that the select board is asking that all boards stop meeting in person, effective the beginning of January, period. No more Zoom meetings, unless it's deemed important by federal authorities or state authorities.
I think especially, you know, these folks don't have a computer. They got the notice to attend a meeting. They came here to attend the meeting.
Right.
They have no way of participating. And this is something they were invited to attend. That's a problem.
We can put that on the, as an agenda item at the next meeting, obviously.
Yeah, but
And notify all boards and committees.
notify all boards that the select board is going to discuss this at their first meeting in January, that no more remote meetings, everything in person from now on.
I would say that we should have the meeting and let them know we'll be discussing it. If they want to say something in regard, plus for or against, they should be here for that meeting.
Yeah, the suggestion can come from the select board that
Right,
all
that
meetings are now in person.
They're not showing means that they're going to let us make a decision with no input from anybody.
And
Representative,
just like our meeting is in person right now, we've made arrangements so that a member of our board can attend from home.
maybe it's a
So that's possible.
Right, a hybrid meeting
we
is okay,
are
but we're
here.
here.
Yeah.
We're here.
I will also add that the board did pass its board and committee handbook, and that is a condition within the handbook as well. So we can certainly, even prior to that meeting, send out correspondence to the, that we recommend meetings are held in person.
Give them a chance to say something.
Okay. All right, we'll do that.
So that first meeting is January 6th.
Yep.
Good date, yeah?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, I don't even know if they're still talking about it, but maybe they are, I don't know. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so now the task at hand. Town administrator. We've had 4 interviews. We've had over the weekend to think about it. We did. So basically, what I think if you want, I'm going to ask each board member to offer their thoughts, if they wish. So I'm going to start with Mr. Tattlebaum.
I just have one comment before that, as far as thoughts are concerned. I would highly suggest that whomever we choose, and hopefully will be tonight, that contract contains a provision of a 1-year performance review with language prepared by the town council, which would enable the town to rescind the contract if the performance metrics aren't met. It's have to be a legal document, and I think it should be included in the contract to give us some leverage to know that we are at least no more than 1 year away if we are, if and hopefully are not, that's the case, unhappy, that we have some leverage to do something as opposed to waiting for the life of that contract.
That can be discussed.
And I say the reason why I'm bringing it up now, it's not pertaining to any individual. This is about the contract going forward. I have enough reservation myself that I would like to have that leverage.
As long as it's legal, you know, that's the whole thing, and that's the one thing I want to make sure.
Well, we may lose a candidate because they won't do it.
Right.
But that's, to
Right.
me,
I believe I had a conversation with Anthony about that, and he said we are perfectly legal to do something
Right.
as Dave's mentioning,
Mhm.
within our rights.
Right.
is there any consensus, any comments on that from anybody?
I agree. I think it's a great idea.
Performance review should always be.
Yeah, but this is going to have a lot of bones to it.
Oh, yeah.
It's
No
not
doubt
going to
about
be
it.
just a kumbaya meeting and slap the guy or the gal on the back and say, okay, here you go.
Well,
This could mean their job.
I can tell you, some of the
But we own
reviews that we
that.
had.
We own that.
Right.
Yeah, we own it, that's us.
Yeah,
Clearly, that's us.
Very,
we
very-
created goals going in.
Right.
We have those goals. We would need to look at those, but we have a structure to do it.
And
We just
need
have to have
enforce
the,
it if
But in
that,
this
if that day
particular
comes.
case, but in this case, we're talking about 1 year, not 3 years, which is different. But I think it's very
but we
important.
should have, everybody should be on
Let
an
me ask
annual
this- let me-
review.
Let me ask this question. So, doesn't matter who the candidate is right now. So our initial offer is a 1-year contract?
No.
Okay.
As I said,
So it's a multi-year contract, but after 1 year, we have the review.
and subject to the language of the town council, which obviously is,
All right,
yes.
all right. I want to make sure, because
Oh, no,
I don't
no.
think,
No, I wouldn't
I
sign
mean,
a
if I was
one-year
looking for a job and I was only offered a 1-year contract with no guarantee after that, I was gonna say, see you later, I'll go find someone another
Yeah.
place. I want to, because I don't want to lose that.
But make
I
no
really
mistake.
don't want to lose that.
Make no mistake.
Okay.
We may be faced with someone who will not sign that contract because of the 1-year performance review, but that's, to me, is very important.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3-year contract with a 1-year performance review,
Okay,
with town council approval.
okay. Do you want to
I think we need
offer
to
your
vote.
thoughts? Or is that your thought?
We have to vote on it.
Well,
About the
that's,
contract?
that's part of negotiation. That's part of negotiation, that's part of the whole
I
thing.
think it
Well,
should be in
no,
their
well,
contract.
I guess what I'm saying is.
Well, then offer it as a motion.
Okay. I would offer a motion that a 3-year contract be offered to whatever candidate we choose with a 1-year performance review with a language prepared by town council, which would enable the town to rescind the contract if the performance metrics are not met.
I will gladly second that.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Tattlebaum, seconded by Mr. Mickelson. On the motion, any questions? Roll call vote. Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill?
Let me ask my wife.
She said yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
All set.
David, I'll agree to that.
Mrs. Brooks?
Yes.
Unanimous.
And I'll vote in favor.
Thank you.
All right. Now, thoughts? Mrs. Brooks, why don't you lead off?
This has been very difficult. The last 2 evenings on the 11th and the 12th, also difficult. I can take pieces of each of those candidates and create, I won't even say the perfect candidate, because there'll never be a perfect candidate. We all have flaws. But I think we would have a candidate that could do the job. But there is not, at this point, one candidate screaming to me that this is the candidate for us. And as part of that discussion, I've done a lot of soul searching. I've also done a lot of Googling, and I can't even tell you how many people I've spoken to, mutual Facebook friends, who, what do we not know about someone before we offer them a contract? So we're not in a bind. I've talked to old employees, former employees, current employees who have moved to other towns or are from other towns. And I can't say that it's either swayed me in one direction or the other.
Mr. Tattlebaum?
Well, I'll first say that Chris Vitale is a talented, knowledgeable young man, and he's done a fine job for the town. I think he's a little bit early when it comes to this job, and I've enjoyed working with him. I'd love to have him alongside here all along, but I don't think that his time has come yet. It's early. He presented himself well. He knows a lot of detail, but this job is 40% knowledge, detail, and law, and 90% leading people in a way that we're all walking in the same direction. And I think he could use a little more time to hone those skills. As far as the two outside candidates, I could not echo my thoughts more. They're more in succinct with Mrs. Brooks. They both have great ideas. They both had some experience. But I have thoughts. I've gotten a number of calls, many, and they have not been favorable in terms of the beauty of this process. The problem with this process is we don't know until day one when this person shows up, the kind of person we've hired, and I have reservations there in that regard. And I'll put myself straight out, I don't hold back. I think Gary Carrero is a wonderful human being. He has he's a family man, he's local. He has great knowledge in the finance business. He has never, ever been number one, never. And I have great reservation. We hired Mr. McGinnis for the same reason. He had never been number one. And forgive me for going on here, but I'm going to say this straight out in my comments. This job is important who we hire, but the culture that this select board offers to that human being, that person we hire, and to the rest of the town and our boards and our employees is what matters most. We have to be active. There's no other entity in this town that's going to make things work and get people in the same room that we make decisions than the select board. We don't have any authority. We can't make decisions, but we can bring people in. We have elected officials who can do what the hell they want to. That's the nature of this town business. It's what we have. And I personally, no one wants to change it. There's no thirst for that. How we conduct ourselves and the person we hire and work with them is going to make the difference. It means liaisons. It means having workshops. It means having multiple workshops, the multiple committees, all directed by us with the town administrator. That's going to make the difference. And that's the culture that we need to grow. And I'm going to go back many years when we were shutting off streetlights and I was not around in this government. And thank the Lord that the likes of Laura Stone and Mike Watson came along that changed the culture of this board. They were willing to dig in deep. And I have great respect for them and others who are just like them. And that's the nature of what our job is. We just can't sit by and wait for things to happen. It's our job to direct traffic and make people feel that we respect them, they're involved, and we listen to them. That's the real culture of that's our job. And as far as I'm going for reliable, I have a known quantity in Gary Carrero. He needs leadership skills. He may have them, we don't know. And I'm willing to invest my time, and I hope all of us do the same on a regular basis, that we work with him. And we sit with him and tell him the problems we have, and not rely on second and third party information, but work with him to know that on a bi-weekly basis we're working with him and invest our time in that. And to me that would be, and frankly, he's going to have the same contract we talked about. Doesn't work out, so be it. But, okay, I've gone long enough. Excuse me.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes. So I prepared a little something, Sean. I'll just read it off if you don't mind. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we're all well aware the town of Dartmouth will be under significant budget pressures over the next 5 years. Our piece of the state pie is woefully inadequate to address the pressures that we'll have in our budgets, including one of the most important areas, being our school budget. Our department seems to have some communication issues that are interfering with the town's ability to provide quality and timely taxpayer services in some areas. We've had and continue to have issues filling important seats. In my opinion, Dartmouth needs a change agent. The next person that the town hires to be our lead administrator should have the budgetary knowledge to bring our town forward with unsurpassed financial stability. Someone who will double down on our ability to flesh out new grant opportunities and lay down a solid foundation for our departments to build a platform of communication and cooperation that will translate to more consistent and favorable service protocols for our taxpayers and all of our fee payers also. After listening carefully to the interviews, asking third parties for background information, and pondering our future needs, my personal opinion is that Bridget Allman deserves the opportunity to bring her experience forward to do just those things. Team building is a must, and I believe Bridget will enhance our approach. She'll find efficiencies in our systems so we can continue to keep our fees and taxes among the lowest in the Commonwealth. Dartmouth needs a no-nonsense change agent that can bring us together and keep us all moving in the right direction. With Bridget Allman as the lead administrator, Chris Vitale as our assistant administrator, and Gary Carrero as our finance director, the town would be very, very well suited and served because they all bring their unique attributes to their positions and will continue to provide Dartmouth with the forward-thinking leadership that the town requires at this time and also into the future. Thank you, Sean.
Well said.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes, I'm in agreement with Mr. Tattlebaum about Gary Carrero, but I have a different idea possibly. We're all separated by different thoughts of where we want to go. A new direction, I've heard that just by Mr. O'Neill. That's easy to say. I don't know who can bring a new direction to us. The only direction that might be new would be the select board to bring that forth, as we discussed earlier. I thought maybe, I don't think we're all on the same page unanimously yet, but I'm just going to throw this out. Why don't we hire Gary Carrero for 6 months? And we'll give him the support he needs, 2 members every other week or every week to help him out and get through these first few weeks of getting his feet wet. He knows what's going on. He's got a lot of experience. But he's a homegrown guy. I think we're not showing him enough respect. So I'd like to float that out there. I don't know if anybody's in agreement, but I would like that as a motion to hire Gary Carrero for 6 months.
We're going to hold off on the
Interim,
motion
right.
now.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you all for your.
You'd like me to be more specific?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Please.
While I feel that Gary and Chris have done an admirable job in their time, I do agree that this is not the right time for Chris Vitale. I also am looking at the 2 outside candidates as new faces, fresh faces, to come in here and do, as they said in their interviews, building teams, quality teams. And both of them seem to have the experience with building teams in different ways. And I do think that Bridget, with her strong financial background, would be an asset to assist Gary as we're going forth through these difficult financial times. I am leaning towards an outside candidate. I, too, am leaning towards Bridget. I don't want to lose Gary or Chris, but I do not think either one is ready for this position at this point.
When we started this process, I think we had a different idea as to how we wanted our town administrator to be. And I think that's morphed into probably a position that nobody can absolutely possibly attain. The process took a while. Process took a long time, and I want to thank the screening committee for the effort that they did, that they showed in giving us the 4 candidates. I'm disappointed in the Collins Center. Basically just advertised the position and put forward anybody who just submitted an application. They didn't go out shaking the trees. And I think that would have served us a lot better. I think we'd be having a different conversation if we had somebody else doing the search. When we set up the interviews, I had requested staff to submit questions, which they did. And some of those questions, roughly 60, 70% of those questions came from staff. And the interviews went pretty well, for the most part. I'm going to take ownership of the last interview. I think the gentleman that we interviewed last was disrespected, but I'm taking ownership on that because I allowed it. I shouldn't have allowed it. He should have been afforded the same questions as the previous 3 candidates, and he wasn't. That's my fault. I should have known better. That being said, I have been absolutely racked this weekend trying to figure out who to do it, who to go with. Chris Vitale has extreme potential to be a fine town administrator. But to start off on a town this size, a budget this size, I think he needs to cut his teeth. As our assistant further, and I would only hope that he goes to a smaller town to start working on it. Gary Carrero. I think Gary is a fine person. I think Gary's too nice of a guy for the position, to be honest with you. Bridget Allman, her financial acumen is bar none. She has great financial acumen, but can you take a financial person and then have them go into an administrative post? It's a different type of post. It's a different set of circumstances. Sean Kadim, this one here really racked my brain. I received so many phone calls, pro and con. I called people who actually worked with Sean while he was in Fall River and while he's in Seekonk. And if it wasn't for the negativity surrounding his candidacy, I think he would be the person for this town. But bringing Sean Kadim here as a town administrator would not serve the town well. Personally, I want to scrap the whole thing and go out and put out an RFP for a search and do this all over again. Continue with our co-town administrators, and let's get this done. Let's get a company like Paradigm or somebody else to knock on the woods, to search, and to say to other people who may be in a position as an existing town administrator to say, hey, I have an opportunity in Dartmouth that you should look at. And I think that's what we should do. Personally, I'm not ready to vote tonight for anybody. I want to go out, I want to blow this thing up, and I want to go out for a search, period. That's my opinion. How you want to handle it from here, I'll leave it up to you guys.
Sean, if that was your motion, I will tell you.
I can't have a motion.
Oh, you can't have a motion.
I'm the chair.
I'm sorry.
I can't make the motion. I can step down as chair and make it.
That is an opportunity that we need to think about. There's no question about it.
I think we should think about it.
Because the board's divided.
Yeah, we got two and two and me.
Right, and, you know.
And I have many of the same thoughts that Sean had about.
I respect everyone's opinion right now. And if I were at the end of the day right now, if I were to make a decision, and we're going to be 2 against 2 all night long, we're not going to change, that maybe in the best interest of the town of Dartmouth would be to go out and find somebody.
And don't get me wrong, okay? I mean, I respect everybody's opinion here. And, you know, ask my wife, ask my mother. I beat myself up over this weekend over this. I really have. And just trying to figure out exactly what we want to do. Because when it comes down to it, I want what's best for this town, period. Not what's best for me, not what's best for you, what's best for everybody. And I think at this point in time, we don't have it. Because no matter who we have, we're going to have somebody, we're going to have at least half the board not really wanting that person. I'm not making sure, I don't want, maybe I'm naive, maybe I want that person to show up, that all of a sudden all 5 of us go, that's the person. That sometimes is not going to happen. But where we are right now, in who we're thinking about it, we're not even close. And I firmly believe we should just blow this up. We have the RFP ready to go.
Dude, that's right.
You know,
we didn't use it in the last.
We didn't use it the last time. Melanie can bang that puppy right out, and we can get somebody in here by the end of January, and just say, "Let's go." David, I know we want to get somebody on time, but you know something? I want to do this right.
Wait a minute. I can speak for myself.
No, I'm just talking to you as, you know,
Okay.
I want to make sure I get this right.
First of all, I was prepared. If there was a 2 or 3 vote in support of someone, I was fully prepared because I think we need a unanimous vote. I think it speaks well to somebody. And I was fully prepared if that's what the democratic process works. It's hard. It's really hard. And doing all this in front of the public is impossible. And I'm not sure what you're saying about negativity, but I felt the questions we asked were follow-ups to the questions that were given. And frankly, and maybe I'll say it anyway, Mrs. Brooks was consistent. It was pure genius. She asked the same question about Google. What would it say about you? And body language completely changed with the fellow from Seekonk on that question. Because frankly, what he could have said to us was, here's what happened. And he didn't. And then the body language changed. And it was just, the man has credentials, but he showed that he didn't have the guts to say whatever it was that came along. And then I watched and listened. And he followed up with the same thing. But it was all follow-up on the questions, the answers he gave. So if that's the negativity you're talking about, I don't have one regret about what we said, because he sealed his own fate. If you were going to vote for Bridget Allman, then I was prepared to change my vote as well, because I do believe that unanimity is very important in this job, because the message has to be clear. Right. But if that's not the case...
I would have asked for that. I would have asked for that.
100%. I'm prepared to give it.
But I'm not, I'll be honest
If
with you.
there's 3 votes out there, I'm ready to go.
I'm not prepared to vote for either 4 of them.
Okay.
So can we make a motion tonight to
You can
scrap what we have
can make a
before us
motion
tonight?
that we-
And go out there and put that RFP?
The motion would be to reject all 4 candidates as town administrator and to go forward with the RFP for a search.
What is the time frame?
Soon.
I don't want soon. What is
I
the
can
time?
call, depending upon the motion. I can notify Melanie, and she can put that out ASAP.
She can send it out this year.
She can send it out this week.
Right.
And that we want to have everybody.
Look
What do
at the
we have,
calendar,
the
hang
6th?
on.
Is that when we're the 6th?
I need a date. I need a date.
Well, we have a
First
meeting
meeting's
the
the
6th, our first
That gives
meeting
us
is the
3
6th.
weeks, right?
January is an excellent time to look for people.
But that's.
And then our following meeting is the 27th.
Let me just get a date here. No, I want to just see the.
The paper-
All right, so if we
Old
get,
school paper
if we get the let's say if we get the RFP out by the 19th or the 20th.
Okay.
So that gets 20th. All right, so we're gonna need at least 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks.
Needed a bid for the...
No, we have the RFP. But if
Mr.
you put the
Chairman,
RFP out, we already
point of
approved the
information.
RFP.
We went through with the Collins Center, we eliminated that.
All right,
That
but don't we need a bid on the person, on the firm we pick?
No. We, with the Collins Center, because they're on the state bid list, we didn't need to go, we didn't need to do that.
Right.
So what we need to do is we need to put the RFP out to get companies like Paradigm, like,
So the RFP is just for the firm to help us.
A firm to help us.
A firm to help
So
us
that's a month.
in the
So at least
search.
a month.
Well, I would probably say get we're meeting on the 27th?
Yes.
So get the RFPs in by the 17th of January. And
Mr.
then,
Chairman,
yes,
is there a motion on the floor?
not yet.
All right.
Um,
I'd like to make a motion, if I could.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion that we hire Bridget Allman as the town administrator.
is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Okay,
There's the device.
all right, so
Let's make that motion.
All right, so what do you want, so at this point, what do you want to
The
do?
reality, I know that they don't have a motion on the floor to go out with an RFP, but I'd like to continue the discussion. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's be realistic about a time frame. We're not going to have a vendor chosen until the end of January.
Right.
And then we're going to send out 60 days to get responses back, 45 days. So we're talking now somewhere in the mid to late March just to get the material back. And then to the end of April to make some decisions. So we're talking about, if we're lucky, May 1st to have a person hired. We've been out without strong leadership since, well, maybe June of last year.
Right.
That'll give us almost a full year. And what are we prepared to do as a group to compensate for the fact that we don't have strong leadership, make whatever that might be, and whatever authority I want to give to somebody else? 1 year. We have boards and people right now going around without leadership. One of our inspectors has never had a town administrator since the day he was hired. And is that his fault?
No.
No, it's not his.
So what are we going to do for the next, it's a full year of having this vacuum. And I'm not saying, well, maybe I am. Maybe it's worth a try, because it's only going to get worse. We got a long-range planning coming. We got an important town meeting coming. We have all these boards and commissions and full-time staff who hasn't had leadership for 6 or 7 months already. Is that what we really want? Is it worth going out and trying to find and hope and pray we can find a candidate that we can agree on and give a shot, and then we got another year after that to find out if this person is going to make, we're talking about 2 years worth of lack of leadership until we find out if we got the right person. Is that really worth it? Or we take a chance? It's a long time.
Well, I can tell you this, we took a chance 6 years ago, and I regret making that chance. So,
I'm going to vehemently
Can't
disagree.
agree with you.
well, that's,
I can't agree. Anyway.
that's my opinion. So,
We take responsibility as much as he did for that not working. And I don't want to repeat that again.
Well, unfortunately, we put forth the RFP process some time ago. We then thought that the timeline would be too long, so we decided to go to with the Collins Center because there would not be, we would not have to wait as long as the RFP process. Unfortunately, and this is something I really feel that we need to let MMA know, as well as every other group that's looking to use the Collins Center, is that they did not do right by us. They did not go out. They did what we could have done without anybody, which was put a notice out and say, you know, come work in Dartmouth.
Did they tell us they were going to do more than they did? Did they promise to not deliver?
Well, I
don't
think
know
if
the
you
answer
look
to
at their contract and all that they stated that they've done in the past to get good candidates into positions, I don't know that they did any of that.
I don't either. If they didn't, then we should have hold them up and collect our money back. Or at least get half it back, because if that's the case,
Already paid him, I think.
I'm sure we have. Get a refund, if that's the case.
Well, just like a restaurant on
They
Yelp,
really did.
a bad review will go a long way.
Yeah, exactly. MMA is a bad review.
What did they tell us they were going to do? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, we had the contract. We looked at it.
Yeah, I can look back at the
it's
contract.
So David, in the meantime, what do you propose then? What is your thought? We understand your discomfort of the delay and no leadership. So what do you suggest?
I'm going to go back to Mr. O'Neill's motion.
I was just told we haven't paid the Collins Center.
Good.
Beautiful.
Someone's listening.
And according to this, we can fire them at any time.
My dear old dad.
Thank you, Melanie.
After the fact.
My dear old dad used to say, if you have their invoice and their inventory, you're in good shape. So.
David, you were saying?
My dad used to say, if it's too good to be true, it generally is too good to be true.
I do think that one of the issues that has been difficult during this time is having co-interims that had very distinct roles already. I think that made it difficult. Going forth, I think that it would be helpful if we selected one as the interim and allowed the other one to do the job that they have. So,
As assistant, like they used to.
right, so I don't want to, I mean, we need Gary at this point to be focused on his department. And I think we work with Chris as the interim, which puts a lot more responsibility on him.
I'm not sure I can agree with that one, Heidi. I understand what you're trying to get to, and I really applaud trying to create something that's going to help us going forward for the next year, because it's going to be a full year before we know we have someone who's in place and in charge and we're satisfied with. That's a long time, so.
I don't think it'll be a year from now. I don't think we'll be hiring someone in
by
December.
the time we hire someone, and they've been here 6 months.
It would have been a year.
No, by the time we hire them, and they will work for 6 months after that, we're going to know then that maybe we found someone that was good or not. But it's going to be a year without having full, confident, in-place leadership. It scares the hell out of me.
I'll just pipe in one more time.
Yep.
We had a search committee that we went out for. We went through meetings. We brought together, I thought, probably one of the better cross-sections of town in order to bring us the best that they could get. I'm not sure exactly how you advertise this position and shake whatever tree you need to in order to get different candidates. If I were looking for this position, given this situation we're in right now, I'd run for the hills. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you're going to go with it. But David, you had mentioned that you wanted to revisit my comment on my motion.
Mm-hmm.
What did you want to do with it? I mean, if we've got a year with somebody who's on a $365 million budget right now in the contract, let's go. Let's get going. We've got somebody that can handle it. We've got two great people, an assistant and a town a finance director that knows their positions, that can help this person get up to speed. The first 6 months for anybody is going to be trying to figure out who's coming at you. You know, who's coming in from what angle. The first 6 months is nothing but back slapping and shaking hands. Let's be honest. I mean, this woman is positioned for this job. It's I would hate to go back out because we're obviously not going to have them, and now we've jeopardized the two people that we have in seats right now.
Right.
So I don't know what you want to do, Dave.
I would make a motion that we select Bridget Ullman.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Tattlebaum, seconded by Mr. O'Neill. On the motion, any questions, discussion?
My discussion really comes down to, because I was and am in favor of her, but I worry about going into this without a unanimous front. or with any, and this means, I mean, we still have to go through the whole negotiation process. So, you know, we could make a move and find out at our next meeting that we're
Sure.
right back where we had tonight.
And then she's done.
Right.
Right.
So,
I would ask if we all made phone calls, we all got emails, we all had comments made, if there's anybody going to step forward before we even vote, that they think there's something we should know or should discuss about that motion, then now's the time to speak.
I did not get unfavorable calls about her.
Mm-hmm.
She did not have, of the two outside candidates, she did not have the issues.
My outside contact came back and said that when she went into the city of Fall River, she went into the meetings and she took charge. And I think that's what this town needs. I think somebody that is going to go in, be confident about the position, know what they're doing on the budget numbers, works with the school department, decided to leave a great team that she put together. And that affords us the ability to possibly gain access to other professionals at a higher level.
I
Can't guarantee it, but, you know, I mean, it's an option.
I make this motion because I choose stability and potential and hope. No differently, if we had 6 months from today, we found someone else that will work, and we do have some protection because of, we've agreed on the type of contract she's going to have to face, and she'll have to accept it. And if she doesn't, that's a different story, but that's why I've changed, because I choose that over the time involved in trying to right this ship. It's to me, it's too high a price to pay.
The fact remains, we've got two credible people in two very important jobs, the assistant and the treasurer at this point, or the finance director, that know the town inside and out, can help with the transition for a new party. And you know what? Maybe that's her team. Maybe she circles the wagons around these two guys and brings them to another level. So now, at the next point in time, we may have an opportunity with those two individuals and build a bench. So, we went out. This is what's out there, guys.
Well, my understanding from the screening committee that it appears, and maybe Nate can confirm this, that the screening committee, their top choice was Kadim, correct?
We didn't rank. No, they right.
Okay. There was no ranking, it was just a, off of the four? Okay.
I will say in my discussion with John Quinn that he had great disappointment in the Collins Center. And the screening committee is only as good as the candidates that they're brought to them.
Right.
I would second that. I had great disappointment.
Yeah.
We're not going to pay the bill.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen again.
We got a string on that check?
We have to talk to Anthony
It's the
about
best
it.
news of the night so far.
All right, anything else on the motion? Roll call vote. Mr. Tattlebaum,
Yes.
who seconded? Chris, you seconded, correct?
Yes.
Chris.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson.
Okay. This has to be unanimous. We have to show her that we're all going to support her. She's not my pick at all, but I'm willing to go along and give her that vote and show her that I'm in favor of her position and give her all the help she needs. I'll vote yes.
No matter who the candidate is, I will, as chair and as a member, support this person, but I'm voting no. I'm sticking to my guns. I'm sorry. I'm voting no. But
You have that right?
Yeah.
with that, I will inform Ms. Allman of the choice. as I will let the other candidates know. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm not gonna do it tonight.
No, and will
I'm beat up.
will HR and Anthony
First
draft?
of all, I will also let HR know, and I will let Anthony know what needs to be coming up, and then we'll go from there. That being said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
No, 1 second.
Go ahead.
Just have one thing. December 25th, the first night of Christmas, is also the first night of Hanukkah. And I'd like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I won't be around, and everybody a Happy Hanukkah. Enjoy and be safe.
To everyone.
Thank you.
Festival of Lights.
Kayam. Now you can make your motion to adjourn.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mrs. Brooks, seconded by Mr. Mickelson. On the motion, any questions? Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. Tattelbaum?
Adjourn.
Favor.
Well, that's my
Good night,
voice.
everybody. Happy holidays.